Hello, and welcome to Don't Evolve Me, the place like Ash Ketchum's Pikachu. We don't evolve, we just level up. Hello, Brandon. We got
Hello.
video for the first time. I don't know if I'm actually going to post the video, but like this is the first time I can see your face in your video, and I just realized that.
Yeah, this is the
Oh
beginning of
yeah, this
something
is
new.
our first video for season 2 of Don't Evolve Me. Um, and it's kind
Hmm.
of a weird. We're in a weird point right now because we're technically recording this during the hiatus during the winter break. And it's funny because I've been asking a couple people to do some recordings, and they're always like, "Wait, Jake, aren't you in a hiatus right now?" I'm like, "No, Don't Evolve Me is in a hiatus. I'm still working every day that I'm not doing Christmas stuff. Making
Still
Oh
preparing for the
yeah,
future.
want to get some episodes ahead. So I don't know when we're gonna release this. This might be either the first one or like one of the first three uh audios that or the first like 3 episodes that we released for season 2. I'm not quite sure yet. Still trying to hash that out. But this is State of Review, Dark Knight Trilogy. Hello, Brandon. Let's get quickly into the
So,
intro so we can talk Batman. All right.
all right, let's do it.
So show me your wares. I can actually show my wares. I got Batman hat on. That's about it.
Oh, I dropped
You
the ball
did.
today. I did not put on my Batman socks. I got them over here. Does that count? Some Harley Quinn
Nice.
socks. Yeah, yeah. I'm not wearing them though. Otherwise, pretty
Hey,
basic
hey,
black
that's
today.
Batman.
That's true. That's true. That
What
that
was
was
the
the
thought?
thought. The thought was
I thought
black
about
hoodie
like
Batman.
wearing
That was my
everything
final
Batman
one.
because I got Batman shoes, Batman socks. I don't have. Wait, no, I do have Batman pants, and I could literally go head to toe
The
and
Batman
Batman underwear. I
pants.
could literally go head to toe with Batman,
Oh,
and I thought about doing it, but I'm like, no, the hat will do. The hat will do.
the hat will suffice.
All right, what have you been nerding out on? I already know the answer.
Uh, One Piece. Started watching
Hey!
it finally. Yep. I watched the Netflix show when I was really hungover one day. Sat and watched the whole thing in one sitting, and then I was like, "Crap, nah, I'm gonna start
And
watching
I
the
told you
anime."
that was going to happen.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna happen too, but I did
All
it. I
right,
did it anyways, and now I'm on
what
260
is it?
something on the
Three, four
anime.
weeks now? Maybe
Maybe
3
three
weeks. You're
weeks.
already 160 episodes in.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on
Yep.
340, I believe.
I will say that I haven't watched like any in the last week.
Yeah,
So
Christmas has been a thing. What else have you been nerding out on
yeah.
this Christmas outside of Dark Knight movies?
Played a little bit of Lorcana for
Oh,
Christmas
nice.
with my cousins. The new
Yeah.
Disney card game.
Uh-huh.
It's like Magic. Uh, it's not bad. It's interesting. It's weird to play something with like Disney characters and stuff, but the game
Nice.
itself isn't bad. And it's kind of always interesting to get in on the ground floor of stuff like that before like things get really
I hear it's
crazy and
kind of
there's
already exploding.
ridiculous stuff going on.
Mostly, I don't hear it. I just say
Yeah.
like when we did our D&D or all our like stuff for our prep time. Every time we go to a game shop, you're like, "Hey, any Lorcana cards in here?" And it's like, "Oh, this must be a
Mm.
thing."
I was I was checking the temperature, trying to see where they're at. They finally got their like second
Okay.
print or whatever, so like they're in stock again for
Ooh,
this Christmas. And my cousin bought all the starter decks, and we just kind of played
nice,
with those for Christmas overnight. And
nice, nice.
it was fun.
One Piece is always what I'm more nerding out on. The other thing I've been nerding out on the last like 3 days since Christmas, because Santa came and got us a gift. Of course, I just bought the gift for
Oh.
everybody.
Hey, hey.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So I bought the
Oh.
game. My son really likes Mario, and just thought, hey, we'll play this as a family since it's multiplayer. That game is fun. That game is trippy. That game is like a ride. I
I may or may not have played that game through a PC emulator on my PC a little bit. It is pretty
No,
fun.
it's a great time. The wonder seed effect that they do, like you just never know what to expect from it. And it's just
Hmm.
like it reminds me a lot like Rayman Legends. And that
Yeah, with
yeah,
like the music and stuff like the way the sound integrates into the
it's
levels.
like it's 2D but it's very deep. There's a lot of depth to it. The
Mm,
art's beautiful, the gameplay is fun and just oftentimes unexpected. And it reminds me a lot of like Super Mario World and Super Mario Brother, like the third game. It reminds me of those two.
mm,
And like it reminds me of those games, but it also does something new. And it doesn't just live off one. It doesn't live off the old games. It takes what's
mm.
great about yeah, it
Mario
takes what's
is
great about those 2 games and does its own thing.
that is something that Nintendo has consistently done with Mario, which is
Yeah,
a good positive point to them is that they are constantly creating new fun Mario
that
games while not losing what makes Mario
which is
games
like
Mario
when
games.
you when it comes to like any like media creation, when it's games, TV shows, and you have like this long-standing franchise, Nintendo is like what you should look to aspire to. Like at
Oh
least
yeah,
Zelda and Mario, not so much Pokemon, but
yeah. I wouldn't look to them to aspire to a whole
yeah,
lot of other
those 2.
things, but yes, as far as their long running franchise, there isn't any other long running franchises that have the
I
same
will
quality
say
and
I have
consistency with them.
one giant gripe with Wonder, and that is when you play with a
Okay.
4-year-old that doesn't know how to play, but really wants to play, it is hard because they have 2 different like 2 different levels that you can play as. You have like the normal Mario, Luigi characters, but then you can play as like Yoshi or
Mm,
Nabbit, where you're invulnerable essentially to dying, except for the fact that you can
mm,
fall off. But the downside of this game, like my
mm.
biggest grievance is the fact that like they have this like role where you can be king and you control the camera,
Okay.
which is normally
Okay.
fine when you're playing with somebody who's like near your level or who's like serviceable. But when you have a 4-year-old who doesn't quite grasp the platforming skills and like you die on a tough
Mm.
level and like me and my wife will die and he'll take over and he's like, I'm king now. And it's like, oh, it's so hard to like, come on, man, make the jump. It's not that hard. You just got to do the double jump. Okay, now you got to do another double jump. Like, okay, you can't die.
Mhm.
You're invulnerable. Like, there's times where like if there's a cliff and he's the king and he's not like, I'll just like push him off. Just so,
So you can take it off
and
like
like and he always wants to be
him.
the king, and it's like, man, and like we had to have this talk. Like, if you're going to be the king, you got responsibilities. You got to take care of its people, and we're the people.
Right.
But
Right.
sometimes he's just
Absolutely.
not quite there. Um,
He'll get
it
there.
is,
It's
it
good practice
is,
for him. It's
it
good training.
is. He's just a little over eager for his skill level. Well, that's my only like
Yeah.
grievance. But like then he'll go to bed, and then we'll do our own world. Me and Sapphire will do our own thing, and
Mm,
me and her, we're just like on the same page with things. So much more fun to play with, like when you
mm.
have 2 people at the same level.
Oh
The
yeah.
other thing I'm
Yeah. It's cool that it gives you that
yeah,
option though,
I
to have like
agree.
an invulnerable partner, so you can try to play
Mhm.
with like younger people and stuff without having them just die
Yeah, and
immediately
it's a
every
fun
time.
family event, but I get very frustrated and angry with video games, especially when I die, and I feel bad because like
Yep. I'm a creative
it's
person
an
too.
ADHD thing, and I just get mad because like,
Mm.
Sapphire also does this because we take it out on him. It's like, this is supposed to be fun, but also, like, at the same time.
Yeah. That's supposed to
So
be a stressful
it's a
experience.
fun family, like, bonding, but also, like, trying to work together. I don't know. I think overall it's gonna be a good
Yeah.
thing. It's just there's moments where it's like but
Mm.
it's, like, the one thing he wants to play all the time, which I'm here for. It's a great game. The only other thing
Mm.
I will say I'm
That's
nerding out on is Marvel's What If season 2 came out. So far, so it's pretty good. What If series.
I didn't realize it
Yeah,
started
it's,
already.
they decided that every day they're gonna release an episode during the winter break. Been wonderful
Okay.
for me
Oh, okay.
because I got time to watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What? How many episodes have they released so
I
far?
think they released the 7th one today. I forget
Okay, and is
I
there
don't know if
eight
there's
total
8 or
again?
10. I think
Okay,
it's 10.
interesting.
I'm,
Okay,
like
I'm
I'm
gonna
looking
have
it
to
up
check
right
that
now,
out.
unless you wanna be the guy. I'm
Are
already
you
on
already
it.
on it?
9, 9.
So, what if 9 episodes? Okay,
We're
we're
both
both
wrong.
wrong.
We're in the middle. Alright, let's get into some news, and we'll talk Batman right away.
Yep.
All right. The biggest news of the winter break, and I think this happened a little bit before the winter break, and you could say it's major news. Supposed to laugh, Brandon. Jonathan Majors.
It took me a second
Again.
again.
Okay, for a second time.
Yeah,
Jonathan
yeah,
Majors, the
yeah,
actor
yeah.
who plays Kang, is no longer at Marvel Cinematic Universe. He got cut because he was found guilty for sexual assault. I think this is not. It's surprising because I didn't think he was going to be charged from everything I heard, but it's not surprising that they dropped him afterwards. I feel like that was kind of just
Yep.
definitely what it is.
It is.
It had to happen.
Mm, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because this is the first like real scandal I feel like that Marvel's had with really any of their major
Um,
actors. Am I
I think
wrong?
this is the first like scandal that like first major scandal that took a major player out because they had
Yeah, I can't even think of like really any other. You go
um
ahead.
Hugo Weaving was Red Skull, and he didn't really have like a scandal. He just didn't like the movie.
Yeah,
He dropped out.
yeah, he didn't want to do it again. He didn't want to come back to
Edward Norton,
do
Terrence
a ghost
Howard,
kill
like
himself.
those.
Yeah, but those are like money, not like really any. Like Edward Norton, apparently he was like really difficult to work with. Terrence Howard was a
Yeah,
money thing
so it's very much
for the contract.
like
This is like the first time that they were like, ah, this is somebody big that we
mhm.
had plans for, and now we just have
Well,
to
like
do
major
something about
plans. Like I don't know, like outside of like Robert Downey
it.
Jr. and like the major like Avengers, I don't know if there was any other actor
Yeah.
who had this big of a plan set up ahead of time, and they just had to cancel.
Mm,
And
right.
so it was
Uh,
I wasn't expecting it. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do. The rumors are saying that they're going to do instead of Kang Dynasty, it's going to be Avengers 5. They don't like they're
mm,
scrapping Kang. Not necessarily scrapping, they're just putting him on the back burner for now. He's going to be recast is the
mm.
likelihood. So,
That that ultimately might do good for the
mhm,
character of Kang. Like have him have like these kind of introductions, kind of tease him, and then just forget about him for
yeah.
a while. Have him fall off into the background and have him just kind of be like this. Oh, I wonder when he's going to come
Well,
back, kind
Ant-Man
of thing. And then then you could
yeah.
recast him or whatever.
Well,
And
Ant-Man 3 did Kang like no favors. Like it showed how like great Majors could be and how great Kang could be. But really, he should have won that battle against Ant-Man.
yeah, oh
Like
yeah, I mean yeah, having somebody that's supposed to be like a Thanos level threat get
Ant-Man.
defeated by freaking Ant-Man.
Awful.
Yeah, on
Awful.
its
All
own.
right, so let's
Yeah.
get to other news. This is Batman related news. So Batman Part 2, The Batman Part 2 or The Batman 2. There was a lot of rumors that came out recently about like which villain, like the villain was confirmed. And the villain that was confirmed was Hush. And the thing and Hush was also talked about or not talked about, it was Easter eggs in the first one. I don't know if you remember the
I think
Hush.
so. Yeah.
And the other ones
Yeah, I think
yeah.
bandaged,
And the
yeah.
other ones that were also in there was Clayface and Dick Grayson, and then Scarecrow and Professor Pig were supposed to make their appearances. James Gunn has denied all of it. However, James Gunn has denied
Hmm.
things that were true in the past, and James Gunn just normally denies everything unless he
Denies
yeah.
everything until proven
I will say like
otherwise, yeah.
he's pretty straightforward with things for the most part. Like I usually take his word for the most part to be true, unless it's like obvious, like a spoiler he did not want to talk about. But I feel like
Hmm.
when it comes to Hush Clayface, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these characters are in it, but I don't think like this is all true.
I don't know if Hush and Clayface is the best combination
Hush and Clayface.
if it's just them two. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I have a love hate relationship with like the Hush story. It's like one of like the most interesting and like coolest, but it's also kind of like boring in some
It,
ways. I don't know. It's not like the most exciting
yeah,
at the same time.
I have
Like
the
a spectacle
story.
of
I
like a
read it.
deep character driven thing. It's not really like a spectacle as much. I feel like
Yeah, it's
maybe
like
I'm
a
wrong.
fun detective story that like just takes place of all the villains. and Hush is like the big figurehead,
Mm,
but really it's Riddler like doing like that's a surprise. It's like,
yeah,
oh, it was Riddler all along with Hush. That was kind of the
that would be kind of disappointing if they did that in the movie and just made the Riddler
well,
like
that's
the
what yeah,
bad guy again.
that's what they did
But
with the
it,
animated.
oh yeah,
The animated
yeah,
movie, Riddler was just Hush all along.
yeah. But it is different because this is like a sequel to a
Yeah.
studio movie to have the same villain basically be the same villain in the second one. I feel like that'd be like the first time any superhero
Mm.
movie has done that, just directly into
I
the next
feel
movie
I
with the
think we're on the
same
same
big villain.
page. I think we just both want to see Mr. Freeze in this universe. I don't know how it narratively it fits, but I think like
Absolutely.
we've had this conversation. I think it was on the pod too that Mr. Freeze is who we would want. I don't
Mm.
mind Hush. I think Clayface would be a good villain. I think Dick Grayson
Yeah,
would
make
make
it
it
interesting.
interesting, especially for this Batman. I think like having somebody that he has to like mentor and actually become a Bruce
Mm.
Wayne. I think it would fit the
Mm.
theme of like him being a hero, right? The first movie was about him becoming a hero, and Dick Grayson fits that narrative because he has to be now. He can't like be a hero and then hide away. He has to be at all time. So, but I don't know.
Right.
I didn't take any of the rumors. I didn't really think like, oh my god, Hush is the villain. Like it's like, oh, that'd be interesting if it's true. We'll see.
Mm. I mean, I'm sure it'll be
Oh,
good either way.
yeah.
Uh,
Matt
I have
Reeves
faith.
is great. I'm happy that that James Gunn and Peter Safran, I forget the other guy. I'm happy they're just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I think
you
that's
know
right.
what, Batman, it's a great movie. We're not stopping it. Like it's great. We're just gonna do our own thing.
Mm.
Like I'm happy that they can do that because I feel,
I keep forgetting that the Penguin show is coming
yep.
out too.
And then I think like there's supposed to be an Arkham show too that's supposed to actually be in the new DCU. That's the rumor.
Okay. Okay. I think that that Penguin show comes out soon, doesn't
I
it?
think so. I think it's to 2024.
I've seen trailers and stuff for it.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. All right, let's
Very
get to the
excited to
main
see it.
topic. The Dark Knight
The meat and
Trilogy.
potatoes. You know.
We reviewed it. We haven't talked about it. That's why we're here. So, my first
Absolutely.
question to you before we get into Batman Begins is where did you think this series would hold up? Like, what was your thought of the series before you rewatched it?
I've held this trilogy very
Hmm.
high in regard for quite a while. I don't think I've really watched it since like the MCU started to
Yeah.
pop off. So probably
And
since like the first Avengers
so,
movie came
literally
out,
a decade.
realistically. Yeah, yeah. So I was honestly kind of nervous going back and watching. I didn't want to ruin it for myself.
Were you surprised during this viewing?
Sometimes
Okay.
some of it felt a bit clunkier and stuff than I
Yeah.
remember it being, but it's mostly what I remember,
So
I
this
think.
is I was like you. I'm like this series is held up high. I wouldn't say it's like my favorite trilogy or my favorite movie series, but it was definitely like one of those like yes, these are like three really good films. And I'll be honest, and I think
Mm.
I messaged you a few times about it. My viewing changed. My thoughts on this trilogy
Yeah.
changed. And I'm in a good mood, so I don't know if I'm going to overall have a hater take. But I think I watched these movies in a bad mood because man, I was just like not feeling it as much as I was expecting I was.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing. That I was hoping that once I started watching them, I would just like get sucked into it and be like, "Oh yeah, Batman, this is awesome." But it was, aside from obvious like some moments and stuff like that. I mean, it didn't help that I watched all three in a row yesterday, but some of it was hard to pay attention to. Just kind of like,
I feel that a little bit. We'll get into it. All right. Before we get
mm,
into it, I I was going on each IGN, kind of just looking at news, just looking at things. I like going on various sites, and they had a Batman movie list. They posted it today, and I'm like, you know what? We got to talk about it because I wanted to bring it up, and we'll do our own list afterwards. So
mm.
they considered 14 movies to be Batman movies. The first 14 and 13 are Justice League and Batman v Superman, which I think is
Mm,
deserving. Number 12 is Batman and Robin, which no surprise. First
yeah.
big surprise is Dark Knight Rises is at 11. Yeah, and
Really? Yeah.
I have it.
Seems a little
It's a little
high.
high on this list or low, depending on. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. I definitely don't think I have it like
well,
at
like
the
the next
top or
one's
anything, but
Forever at
11.
10. I'm like, ooh, I think it's better than Forever. Like it has. We'll talk about it as
Yeah,
it
that
starts.
that that kind of feels bad. Feels
Zack
bad to hear
Snyder
that.
Justice League is at 9.
Still haven't seen it.
It's worth seeing. It's worth seeing. It's interesting. You should put it on your list. It is kind of a tough playthrough, but if you watch Justice League, then
Yeah.
watch Zack Snyder Justice League. It
You want
Dude,
me to
just
watch both of
watching
them?
both of them,
I've never seen either of them.
it's I don't know if the theater version's worth watching, but I think like just for comparison, watching the theater version and like the Zack's
The Whedon cut versus the Snyder cut.
yeah, and like just watching those two versions, it's just fucking interesting. Like it more or less gives you a viewpoint of like how much studios change movies, like how much a movie can change.
In the
Yeah,
editing
and I think
process.
like
Oh yeah.
for that reason alone, it's worth watching. Um, Number 8 is 60s Batman. I didn't see that one. We didn't plan on doing it for Batman. I don't
It's
it's an old Batman movie. It's fun. Like I just expect it to be
yeah,
fun.
yeah. It's campy. It's fun. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on. I can imagine. It's weird that it's
Lego
so
Batman's
yeah.
number 7.
I guess it's high up because it's just easy. I haven't actually watched the Lego
Oh,
Batman movie either. I watched the Lego movie, but I
you're
never watched
watching
Lego
that one
Batman.
next. Batman Returns is at 6,
Dark.
and that's like the first one I was like, bullshit. Bullshit. Batman Returns needs to be higher. It's top 5 at least.
I'm curious what. I mean, I guess we have obviously the two beginning ones
Yeah,
of the
we have
Dark Knight
Batman
trilogy.
89 at 5,
Just
which I'm
okay.
like, okay, I like.
Oh, it's probably got the Batman
Yeah,
in it too, I
Mask
suppose.
of Phantasm is 4.
What they put an
Yeah,
animated
they
movie
didn't
up
put
there?
the other one,
Any of the other
the
animated
other
movies?
like I guess this one was a theatrical release. I think that's why they put it up there. I
That's
think
fair.
Mask of
That's fair.
Phantasm is fine, but like to me it's like Lego Batman. It's like it's good, but I don't really know if you can put it that high. I don't know. I
Yeah, there's nothing new going on in it. It's just kind of a
mm.
good, well written
And then we
Batman
got
story.
Batman Begins at 3, The Batman at 2, and then The Dark
Okay.
Knight at 1.
Oh, yep,
So
yep.
we
Okay,
will. I just wanted to like just state the list, and then we can do our own list.
okay.
I made my own list for the movies that we reviewed so far.
Okay.
All right, let's get into Batman Begins. I almost said the Batman. Batman Begins. All right, so this is directed by Christopher Nolan, screenplay by David Goyer. Um,
David
is it
Esquire.
Esquire?
I think so, isn't it?
Could be. I just put
That's what I
David
feel like I
Goyer.
hear.
Let's talk about the
Okay.
plot. I'm just going to talk about the plot that Wikipedia had, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So, Gotham City,
Okay.
young Bruce Wayne falls down the well and is attacked by bats, developing a fear of them. Attending the opera with his parents, Bruce becomes frightened by his performers, masquerading as bats, and asked to leave. Outside, Mugger Joe Chill murders Bruce's parents in front of him. The orphan Bruce is raised by family butler Alfred Pennyworth. 14 years later, Chill is paroled, and after testifying against mafia boss Carmine Falcone, Bruce intends to murder Chill to avenge his parents, but one of Falcone's assassins does so first. Bruce's childhood friend Rachel Dawes berates him for acting outside the justice system. After confronting Falcone, who says the real power comes from being feared, Bruce spends the next 7 years traveling the world, training in combat and immersing himself in the criminal underworld. And I think we can stop here and kind of talk about all. Yeah,
The beginning parts.
and this movie does
Yeah.
something a little bit differently. And David Goyer kind of has a style of intros because he does something really similar in Man of Steel, where he spends a lot of
Mm.
time with the origin. And this is the first, like, I feel like this is the first Batman movie that really dives into the origins of Batman. What makes
Not just the first Batman movie that dives into the origin. This is the first like superhero origin movie. All the other superhero movies kind of skipped origins. This was the first one to like really dive into the origins and set the foundation for what the MCU has done for the last
yeah,
15 years.
at least to the scale, the scope of origin.
Yeah.
'Cause you could say,
I mean, you got to think about all the other
yeah,
Batman movies that were just he was just
he was
Batman
just
right away.
Batman. I mean,
You
like
know,
Spider-Man, I think did it first.
even in the old Hulk movie that came
Yeah.
out, yeah.
I think Spider-Man did it first. Like I think he sets more of the foundation of um the origin, but like this is the first movie that like
Yeah.
dove and
That's good.
focused hard on the start. And I thought this was a very interesting beginning, especially since like this is a Batman that like actually tried to murder. He tried to kill.
Mm,
I will say though, as much as like this is such an interesting like start to the movie, I do feel like this slows down the movie a lot. And I think that's like the big takeaway. And
yeah.
this is true of like Man of Steel and some other movies that focus really, really heavily on the origins. I th- Halloween, one of the movies we did for Seder review for like the Halloween, the holiday itself. Um, Blanking Rob Zombie's version of it. He does an origin story of Michael
Mm,
Myers. Super interesting, super fascinating, but like it also takes over the movie to the point where like the actual movie itself
mm,
wasn't that good. And I kind of came away from Batman
yeah.
Begins with that thought. Like the origin story almost kind of took over this movie. Not as quite as Halloween Rob
I
Zombie.
think, mm,
And it didn't completely fail like
I,
that movie did. But I felt like this movie almost lingered a little bit too long on it.
I I feel like this movie, the thing with like these was that was it a planned trilogy from the very
I don't think
beginning?
so.
Because it really feels like dedicating as much time as they did in the origin for Batman Begins, it pays off by being able to just get right
Yeah.
into it in the next two
I will
movies. And we don't like spend
mhm.
that time re-going through it, you know.
Yeah, I they definitely do that. They definitely do. I know that they had a sequel in play. They definitely like that is true,
Mm,
especially when you watch this movie again and there's a lot of like Joker references, especially towards the end of this film.
mm,
I will say
mm,
like this movie had a sequel in mind. I don't know if I'd say trilogy in mind, but definitely a sequel.
yeah.
So,
So I think that lends a little credence to the
mhm,
origin thing. But I do agree that it takes a little bit of time, but that is like one of those tough questions though, because it's like you do want to tell people's origins from time to time,
yeah.
you know, and how do you do that effectively without being like boring or like
Well,
dragging down the
yeah,
whole
I mean that's
movie?
like the big writer question. You have this huge backstory.
Mm,
It's like, when do I tell this backstory? Do I just tell it all at once right
mm.
away, or do I filter it in through flashbacks, right? And
Dump it on a text scroll on the screen.
no, dude, it's supposed to be like visual cues where it's like, the name, Deadshot, height, like weights.
Like a music video
You know what's
openings.
hilarious?
Yeah, yeah,
David
yeah.
Guire's or no, is it no, it's not David. No, isn't it David Guire who does the I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's David Guire's the guy
That
who
that
did
sounds
Suicide
familiar.
Squad.
Yeah, the Suicide Squad. Yeah, but to be fair, the first Suicide Squad movie, what came out had nothing to do with what he had
Yeah.
written. It was like they literally hired like music video directors to re-edit the whole movie,
I for
like actually, and that's why it looks like that, and it's so weird, and it's just like a long music video.
Yeah, that was and honestly, that's actually the best part of that whole, movie, in my opinion.
Like the
It is,
stylizedness of
because,
it.
like, the rest of it's just shit. Like, it's just
Yeah,
bad.
I would
Oh,
agree with that.
it's not David Guy it's David Ayer. My bad. My bad, David.
David, okay. David, and
Yeah,
it ended with an er. So you're
my
close.
bad, my bad. But yes, anyway, like, So it is tough because like how do you tell the origin story? And like I think I appreciate the origin story. I almost just feel like that should have been its own movie. Where like, everything should have almost just been like Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, whatever you want to call it. We'll get into that whole debate. Because I know like me and you for the
Mhm.
last decade were like just it's Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's al
Yeah,
Ghul.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Raish.
I just remember like purposely going like Ra's al Ghul and just you turning around like I want to murder this motherfucker. Like just saying it to piss me off and it's
Oh
working.
yes, yeah, you're good at that.
I am. I know. It's a character trait of mine. All right, I'm going to read the next paragraph and we can talk. In the Butte prison, he is approached by Henry Ducard, played by Liam Neeson, who recruits him to the League of Shadows, led by Ra's al Ghul. The League
Yeah.
believes
Okay. Go ahead.
Gotham is beyond saving and intends to destroy it. After completing his training, Bruce rejects the League and it mandates that killing is necessary, bringing down the temple and his escape. Roz is killed in the falling debris while Bruce saves Ducard. He returns to Gotham, takes on the family company, which is being taken public by the people. I'm like paraphrasing.
Shareholders. Yeah.
Company person, Lucius Fox, who's a friend of Bruce, allows Bruce to use the prototype defensive technologies like the bodysuit tumbler, basically just showing like a realistic take of like how Bruce gets his stuff. And then he sets up this
Right.
persona of as a shallow playboy, setting up the bases in the cave, and just kind of like a montage of like the start of Batman. Which this is a lot
Mm.
of paragraphs to go by. What do you think of the League of Shadows and how that story progressed?
Uh, I mean, I think it was well done for being as minimal as it is. I mean, like it isn't, but it is. Like I don't know. It's there's enough like mystery and stuff behind it to kind of keep it interesting. I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
I
when I going back, like I feel like I didn't have near as much of an idea of uh, that whole
yeah.
side when I first watched this as I do now,
There,
League of Shadows. So it's like a
there's
little
so many
different.
animated movies and so many like TV shows, like animated Batman shows that go through this storyline. So it's like, but I believe
Mm.
this is like the first storyline that literally like that talked about the League of Shadows as like the origin story for Batman. And I really like that idea of Batman like
Mm.
going away as a kid to train with all these different masters
Mm.
and learning the ways of the criminal before coming back with the sole purpose of like seeking vengeance for his family in the way of crime fighting. Like I do really like that storyline, and this
Mm.
is the first movie that really did that. So like I appreciate it for being,
It definitely needs
but
credence to
I
his
feel like the
ability.
way you said it was very minimal, and I feel like this is it almost feels shallow. Like it's like this is the first movie that does it, but it does so in a way that it feels shallow. And that's kind of the theme that I get after watching this movie is like there's a lot of cool ideas, but the ideas are never like fully realized. And it's
Yeah.
just like the idea of like League of Shadows. He goes to join League of Shadows. He goes through all the tests. He completes the test, but he won't kill, right? And they're just like, we're gonna kill you now because you
Mm.
won't kill. And like somehow like
And then he
well
kills
yeah, and then
everyone in
like
the
the
building.
temple starts just like blowing up and like on fire. I'm like, God, that escalated quickly. Like, no.
Yeah,
And
oh,
just
yeah.
like
Kill
also
everyone
like
else there.
is there training for like the League of Shadows for these like all this like they move in unison. I'm like, do they practice this? Like, all right, guys, when we have new recruits,
Yeah.
we must practice. Hey, you fucked up. You got to do this
Yeah. Putting it on the
perfectly
shelf.
unison.
Yep. Yep. Choreography is a big part of their training.
And also just like the lie of like this is Ra's al Ghul, and it's like no, I'm Ra's al Ghul, and it's like okay,
Yeah.
like
Looking back now, it feels pretty
we all
pointless.
know it's Liam
But at the
Neeson.
time, like yeah, if you go back and you can pretend like you didn't know that he was Ra's al Ghul and
I
stuff like that,
yeah,
then it's not as bad. But like knowing now, it's just like okay, this is pretty
When I
obvious
first watched this, I was so confused, and I remember
why he
I'm
wasn't
just like,
Ra's al Ghul.
it's not Ra's al Ghul, like, I thought this is Ra's al Ghul, like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
the obvious, like, eth ethnic dude?
Stand in.
I
Yeah.
forget his mutant I forget, like, what his ethnicity would be, but I'm like, "Oh, it's him?" Like,
Mm.
that doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure it's Liam Neeson. You know, then, like, like,
Yep.
later
And
on,
then
it's like, Ra's al Ghul. It's like, "Oh, okay, it is him. Okay, my confusion is over." But I was just confused.
yeah, yeah, I would agree that it was a little messy, especially when you hire somebody like
Hmm.
Liam Neeson, especially nowadays too, because like back then you got to realize Liam Neeson wasn't nearly as
Yeah,
famous. This was before Taken and
that's
stuff
fair.
like that,
That's fair.
and so he wasn't quite as high profile name to where you're just like instantly like he has to
Yeah,
be
and I feel like
somebody
I'm
really
pretty
big.
sure I watched this a few years after it came out too, and, like, I knew Liam Neeson a little bit more, and he's a
Mm.
little bit more famous at this time. But,
Mm.
yeah, like, I was so confused. I'm like, "It's Liam Neeson. Of course he's the bad guy." Like, and then he got
Right.
what was your thoughts on, making this a more grounded, real Batman? And, how do you like my first question with this, and I know I'm asking a question even though or I'm answering a question even though I just asked you a question. How does Bruce, like, get away with this? Because, like, how does, like, the Wayne Company not realize that their products are being used by Batman?
That is a good question. I guess the idea in the movie would be that these things are so like top secret in the company that even the people that like run the company don't necessarily know about them. The only people that really
Yeah,
knows about the details of the project is Lucius
but, like,
Fox.
someone had to build.
But you would like the Tumblr, you would think that somebody might be like, "Hey, didn't we make that thing?"
Like, I remember working on this
Yeah, I would
project.
agree with that. Like all the other stuff, I could kind of see, but the Tumblr for sure. I feel like that's
The
something you would
Tumblr,
recognize if you
the
had something to
bat
do with that.
suit. It's like, man, I'm pretty
Well, the bad suit, he does add some of his own things. He puts on the cowl and changes
yeah,
a few things to where, like, I could see that. Especially like it's not like they're taking pictures of him like in
yeah.
broad daylight so you can
And this is
examine the suit. But the Tumblr is definitely like,
before
yeah,
social media too. So, like, you wouldn't have, like,
that's also
people,
true.
like, taking pictures constantly and just, like, asking that going back and forth of, like, looking at the picture, like, "Oh, where is this from?" Like, the day of the internet, I feel like it'd be really hard to be a superhero because, like, it's so easy to, like, transfer that communication and that message yeah, that information.
Information. Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely.
any more thoughts about the intro?
Uh, I will say that Christian Bale with
Mhm.
long hair, like in
Oh,
the
yeah.
beginning of this when he comes in, reminds me so much of Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne,
Oh, yeah.
like the hairstyle and stuff.
Bruce
Yeah, that
is it, like,
that is another thing I
mandatory
pointed out, or I thought
is it
about when I was
mandatory for
watching.
Bruce Wayne to have long hair in his origin story?
Yeah, that like long kind of bowl cut,
Yeah.
almost looking kind of shaggy.
I like
Yeah.
where he steals his own things and, like, "You're a thief." He's like, "No, I'm not." It's like, "I just stole my own things." It's uh, like, I understand the joke there, but I'm like, "Man, real world, it does one of 2 things. One, it either makes you look like an idiot, which kinda like what it
Hmm.
shows in the movie, or 2, like, people are just like, "Wait, you're Bruce Wayne. Why are you robbing things, man?"
Yeah.
But again, this is
Yeah.
before
Right.
the age of information. Alright, moving on.
Right. It's a different time. This was 20
Oh
years
god,
ago, almost, that this came
21
out.
years ago. I feel old. Intercepting
Yep.
a drug shipment, Batman provides Rachel, now a Gotham Assistant District Attorney, good for her, with evidence against Falcone, enlists
Hmm.
Sergeant James Gordon, one of Gotham's fewest honest police officers, to arrest him. In prison, Falcone meets Jonathan Crane, a corrupt psychologist whom he helped smuggle drugs into Gotham. Donning a scarecrow mask, Crane sprays Falcone with fear-inducing halogen. Man, I like
Toxin.
it's like hallucinogen. My brain is Yeah,
hallucinogen.
which
Yeah,
drives him crazy. He gets
halogen, like
transferred
Wi-Fi.
to Arkham, and then Batman investigates, gets sprayed by Crane. He is able to escape and is able to get saved. Then Batman later subdues Crane. Basically, this is the whole Scarecrow intro.
Ugh.
Do you think now looking back, is this a good Scarecrow? Do you like the Scarecrow?
I I do honestly because Scarecrow is kind of like a smaller time
Yeah.
villain in the Batman stories. He always kind of has been, and like even I think in more recent stories and stuff, he's almost kind of like been a butt
Mm.
of a joke a little bit because he's never quite got to that level of like the other
Yep.
rogues in Batman's gallery. Um, so I feel like kind of taking him down this more kind of crazy, personal crazy kind of path where he's just kind of on his own rampage and doesn't really have like these grand
Mm.
plans and like grand desires necessarily. He's just kind of following orders, working with
Yeah.
Raish a little bit, and kind of doing his own thing. I think that that's actually one of the better takes on Scarecrow, and I love Cillian
Yep.
Murphy. I think he's a great actor.
I enjoy Cillian Murphy.
So
I
I'm
enjoyed
a fan
Cillian
of it.
Murphy. I do enjoy the Scarecrow. It's I wish they would have done a little bit more with the effects that Scarecrow had. I'm thinking like Arkham Asylum, the video game, or like he's like, it's some of the best levels. It's very much like Mysterio, where it's like I just want a little bit more in like with these effects. That being said, it is a
Yeah,
20-year-old movie, so like I think they did pretty good for that.
and it's 20 years old, and I feel like they were trying to keep it a lot more grounded to begin with. But the scene of him like on the horseback and stuff when he's like spitting
Oh, that's
fire, like
pretty
that's
awesome, I
pretty
will say.
awesome.
There's
Yeah.
one scene here that they talk about a little bit, but it doesn't do it justice because this is like the intro Batman scene, and my god, this is probably one of the best intro Batman scenes, and it almost tops Batman '89, where he is at the shipyard and he's just taking out thugs one by
Oh yeah.
one in the most scariest way. Who are you?
Hmm.
I'm Batman. Like it's just
Hmm.
it
It
hits. It's a
hits. It
great
hits.
moment. I think, and I will
Mm.
say with the Dark Knight trilogy, when they slow down and they focus on a scene, it's
Mm.
fucking good. Like that's my positive takeaway
Hmm.
from this. When it slows down, it's great. This, these movies just don't slow
Hmm.
down often.
Gives it a
Yeah,
chance to
these
kind
movies
of
just don't
sizzle.
slow down often. It's
Yeah.
like go, 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 go. Not so much this movie because this
Mm.
movie slows down initially with the origin, but then it takes
Origin. Yeah.
off. But the next two movies are definitely they feel this. It's go, go, go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Batman evades the police to get Rachel to safety. He administers the antidote, gives them two vials for Gordon in production. He goes to his birthday party, which is a great time for a birthday party. Ducard appears
Yeah.
and reveals himself as Ra's al Ghul. The dead Ra's is a decoy, which at the time was supposed to be a moment that I think no one like really went for. Like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was just like, oh, hey, it is the guy that I thought he was. Um,
Right. Yeah.
having
I would say it wasn't. I don't think it was too surprising
having
at first,
stolen a
but
powerful microwave emitter from Wayne Enterprises, he plans to vaporize, yeah,
evaporate,
vaporize
evaporate, or
Gotham's
vaporize.
water supply, rendering the Crane's drugs airborne and causing mass hysteria that will destroy the city. Which, not a bad plan, but also I feel like it doesn't actually destroy the city.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like, the big plot hole that everyone has with this plan is that people
Yeah,
like you and me, we're like
yep,
90% water. So if you just evaporated all of the water and vaporized it,
yeah.
we would
Which
also be
would be like a
vaporized.
better plan. Just kill everybody. Which is like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'd be much more
less
gruesome,
cinematic though.
honestly.
Well, I guess it would be kind of cinematic for the moment, but like you wouldn't have a scene, the battle.
There'd just be a bunch of people
Yeah.
floating. Yeah, just pop, pop, pop as the thing
Oh,
goes
it
by.
reminds me of Kingsman with the heads exploding.
Yep, yep, yep.
Um, Batman rescues Rachel from the mob. He confronts Roz on the trade who's using the tumbler. They're going into the city, into Wayne Tower that basically connects the whole city together. He, Gordon uses the tumbler to blow the tracks, and Batman refuses
Hmm.
to save Roz again. He escapes. Roz dies, which is like a.
Yep, the famous line, "I don't have to save
And
you. I'm not gonna kill
I
you.
don't know
I
how I
don't have
feel
to
about
save
that
you."
line. I never knew how I felt about that line.
Yeah, yeah, I don't. I still don't know how I feel about that. I mean, even like, well, it's funny because it goes back. I think about what is it, Batman Forever with Joker or with
Hmm.
Riddler and Two Face. Was that yeah? When Two Face is like hanging by the thing, and Batman convinces Robin to like save him or whatever, not lie, and then they just end up letting him fall anyways and dying.
Yeah.
Like after going through the whole speech about not sinking to their level and saving them or
And this
whatever,
Batman's like, I don't have to save you.
kind of
It's like,
hypocrisy.
you're a
Yeah.
hero. It just doesn't feel right. But leave it to David Goyer, Esquire, to do this twice with the Man of Steel as well.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, didn't he do the Man of Steel too?
Except, yeah,
To be fair, the
mhm.
Superman one 100 times worse
That's.
than this
I
one.
thought you were gonna say.
He
I
straight
thought you
up
were gonna
breaks
say
his neck.
better. I'm like, yeah, no, it's worse.
No, 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 no. It's so much worse, and it's
Yeah.
Superman too. Like Superman, like Batman straddles that line of darkness sometimes to where like in a really bad situation, like I think about the Dark
Hmm.
Knight Returns, like Miller comics, where he does end up killing the Joker
Yeah.
or letting him die, like making that ultimate choice kind of thing, and like and it being, like a tough choice
Hmm.
but the right choice. Whereas I don't see
I
Superman
don't.
killing
Not
anyone.
in that situation, no, because there's so many other answers. Just
No,
fly up.
yeah, yeah, take him to a different planet. Like Batman doesn't
No.
have that option.
And I don't even like mind the whole like he didn't save him. If you were just like flown away with his Gatling gun and like let him die, I don't think anybody would like say
Yeah,
anything. But the whole like I don't have to save you.
the fact that he
It's like,
says it,
come
yeah,
on, man.
it's like he's because you said that. Now I feel like you're
Yeah,
killing
it's
him.
like you are choosing to let him die. That's like different.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
you didn't kill him, but like, man, your actions did.
And you had enough time to think about it, obviously, before you left.
Should I?
Like it's not like a split second decision. Like, oh, I could
Yeah.
have saved him. It was like, no, I could. I'm not going to. Peace out.
Uh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna finish up this thing. Bruce gains Rachel's respect. However, she decides not to be with him, telling him that they can go together. If Gotham no longer needed Batman, Batman becomes a public hero, and then he purchases Wayne, fires the guy, places him with Fox. Gordon is now
Yeah.
lieutenant, and they show the bat sign. All right, what's your thoughts on
That
this
signal.
movie?
Uh, I mean, I still enjoyed it. I will. It's definitely the hardest to watch out of the
Yeah.
three of them. Maybe just because it is got such a long like
Hmm.
opening origin kind of that drags on
Yeah,
for a while before like it gets going. It does have a lot of good moments in it. Um, I do think like if I was like to compare it, I do think it's overall like probably a better film than like the third one, but I think maybe the third one is a little bit easier to
I agree.
watch.
I would agree with that. I what's the highlight of this movie? I feel like there's two, and that's the intro Batman scene and the scene where
Yeah,
everybody's going crazy
yeah, when he's
and
doing that.
Scarecrow's on that horse.
Yeah, I think about yeah, yeah. That's literally like the two scenes that I was thinking about.
What are
Yeah,
your thoughts on Rachel?
there's not. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah,
Tumblr scene when he's driving through the city with Rachel. I
yeah.
mean, that's pretty iconic,
What's your
pretty
thoughts on
awesome.
Rachel and the love story that this movie isn't?
Yeah, I don't know. It never really felt
It doesn't really hit,
like a
does
love
it?
story.
I feel like they talk about
No.
love, but they don't really show anything. It's like two people who are interested in each
Yeah,
other and they talk about like, "Hey, we can get together. Hey, that'd be cool," but like don't ever actually do anything together. And I felt
yeah,
like that's the relationship of Bruce and Rachel for two movies.
yeah. I mean, like it's weird when you think about it because he was what like 14 or I guess how old was he when he left the first time?
Like 14 to 17, somewhere around there.
Yeah, so I mean, he was just a kid when they
Yeah.
like knew each other, and then they really weren't around each other for long periods of time. And then he comes back, so it's kind of like that weird dynamic where it's like, oh, this was a kid I had a crush on when I was like 15, and now
Yeah.
we're 30, and we're back together. It's not like that doesn't
No,
translate to
and
the
I
same
I
type
think
of relationship.
Bruce, for Bruce's perspective, it makes sense for him to really be into Rachel. But for Rachel, like
Mm,
she's been to college. She's like is now in a really good career where she's met probably several men in this like
mm.
to me it's like Bruce wouldn't be on her mind.
Yeah, it doesn't strike you as like unrequited love kind of thing from childhood that they're just
Mhm.
waiting to get back together this whole time. It was more of just like it could have happened, but it never really did. So
Yeah.
why keep looping back to it, kind of thing.
Should we talk about Roz slash Raish and the fact that they decided to change that? Can we talk about that now? Because I think that's a decision I
Yes.
fucking hate to this day.
Yeah.
And I
It just added unnecessary confusion
yeah,
into
and like
everything.
there's literally a scene, it's like, Roz, is that how you pronounce it? It's like, no. No, it's not how you pronounce it. It's Raish Al Ghul, for the love of God. Why do they
Yeah.
change the pronunciations? And here's the thing, it's not like in this invincible thing where like, like in
Yeah.
my head
It
it
never been
was
spoken
Levy,
out loud.
Angstrom Levy, but no, it's like, no, it's Angstrom Levy. But like Kirkman decided that like that's how they pronounced it. Like Batman, it's always been
Right.
Raish. Always been Raish. First live action adaptation, Roz.
Yep.
Why?
Yep. Like this is established like it's a
And
cartoon.
now,
Yeah.
like, there's literally debates. Like, is it Roz or Raish? Like, it's always Raish. It should always have been Raish.
Yep.
What do you think of Liam Neeson's
Mm.
portrayal of Ra's al Ghul?
Uh, I feel like he doesn't get too many. I love Liam Neeson as an actor. I don't think he got too many opportunities in this movie to do
Anything.
too much because we only really see him from Batman's perspective, like in the scenes that
Hmm.
Batman's in too. So you only see him like with his interactions with Batman. You don't get to see any of the other stuff that he's doing, planning anything that he does on the outside. You only get to see him when he's
It's
literally
really
in
a
the same room
shame.
as Batman.
I think they're
Yeah.
treating of. I think Raish. I'm just gonna call him Raish from here on out. Fuck the Roz. Raish al Ghul
Mhm.
is a great beginning villain because he has so many ties to the origin, right? I think killing him was a mistake.
You know what I think part of the problem was is that when they're making this film series trying to go
Yeah.
real grounded with like the Batman lore, and I think when you take something like the League of Shadows and you ground it in reality, it becomes much
Yeah.
less than what it is
Because like they
in the
talk
comics,
and they
and that's
talk
what
this movie also this whole trilogy talks a lot of themes, right? Like characters talk
oh yeah,
theme, they talk philosophy, and talk about the
yep,
ideas of the world. Like
literally
the
in their
whole
dialogue.
dialogue is just talking the theme.
Mm.
And like they like, oh, the League of Shadows is this mythical thing. It's like it could have been. Like it could have
Yeah, it definitely doesn't
like
feel
it
like
just
it.
they're just there, they're a terrorist organization, but you don't really see the inner workings. They're just there, they do things and then they
Yeah,
die.
you don't feel the power like as from what we see in the movie. We see like what like a shack in
Temple.
the Alps
Yeah.
or something like that with a temple, yeah, with a handful of guys in it, and all of them get killed
Somehow.
except for
Yeah.
Liam Neeson's character. Yeah, and that's all we see of this infamous League of Shadows. I do feel like without having, obviously this would not fit into this trilogy, but without having like the Lazarus Pit and like this idea of Raish essentially being
Mhm.
immortal and controlling this like league for thousands of years, it definitely loses that power and that presence that it has in like the
This
comics and
is
stuff like that.
again goes to the theme of this whole trilogy and how I feel about it. It's a very shallow interpretation of Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul.
And I think that was the limiting factor with this movie, and the reason why with this trilogy, and the reason why it was probably for the best that it didn't like expand into a
Mhm.
bigger universe is just how grounded
Yeah.
it was. It left so little to like
They just
play
shouldn't have
with
killed
along
him
the
because I
way.
feel like the third movie would have been a lot better if they, essentially had him still
Yeah.
be around. Like, have him defeated or have him in jail.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. That's a tough question. So, because how do you fit him and Talia in it, or do you just take Talia out entirely and just have him be in it? I think it might have almost been better if you just skipped
yeah,
Talia
you could
and
have him in it.
just had him be like the bad guy behind the scenes in
Like, he doesn't even have to
Bane.
be the bad guy in the third film. Just, like, having the idea of, like, they're still around. They're still plotting. Just
Yeah.
that, like, Batman
Mm.
severely took out the League of Shadows, or just have it in the air of, like, did he die? Did he not die? And they could have done that because, like, you don't see a body,
Yeah.
and if you don't see a body in a superhero movie, like, is he dead? No. But, like, in this movie, it's clearly that he died.
Mm.
So we're at the 30-minute mark. Actually, I think we're a little bit over. But that's okay. What rating do you give Batman Begins? Yeah,
Batman Begins. I would say 3
that's kind
plus,
of where I'm at. I wrote 3 plus.
maybe 4 minus on a good day. If you would have asked me a little bit ago, I probably would have said before I watched it, I probably would have said 4 minus. After watching it
I'm like
yesterday,
debating.
3
I'm like, is this a
plus.
good movie that has great moments, or is this a great movie that just like is overall?
It has some
Yeah, and
slow
I'm like,
moments. Yeah,
I think I'm gonna do 3 plus.
it really straddles the line. It really straddles the line
Mm.
between those two. Between like,
I'm like,
yeah,
I think I'm
I
gonna
don't even
say
know
it's
how to describe
good
it.
because I
It
think
is.
at the time it was great because we didn't get a movie like this. This is the first movie that really like goes into the depths of or even though it did very shallowly, it at least touched upon the origin more than
Mm,
any other movie has ever done. It showed us a realistic
mm,
take on Batman that we'd never seen, and with a director that really knows his stuff, at least action wise, with
mm,
the technology of
mm,
that time, which was really advanced compared to like the 90s of Batman 89.
mm.
So like this movie was
Oh yeah.
great when it came out. But I think after watching all of Marvel and the new DCEU movies, which this movie's better than all of them except for maybe one.
All of the DC. The only one I can
Yeah,
think of
that's the
is
one I was
Suicide
thinking.
Squad.
Um,
Yeah. Otherwise, it's better
yeah,
than every
but
other
like I
DCU
think
movie.
just with that in mind, I'm like, this movie isn't like new in the sense of like this is the only great superhero movie. You can compare it to now another Batman movie. And I don't think this movie holds up anymore.
Mm,
I just don't. So I think 3 plus is where I'm gonna give it to. I was thinking 4 minus, but I'm like, no, that's where like 3 plus is what I was feeling. All right, should we get to the big one?
yes. Can I take a quick pee break
Taking
real
a quick
fast?
break now. All right, back from break. Starting at Dark Knight, and I got a take for you, Brandon.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait.
Okay.
All right, so Dark Knight, director
Well,
Christopher Nolan again. David Esquire did not do the screenplay. It was Jonathan Nolan. I'm pretty sure it's Christopher Nolan's brother. Yep.
his brother.
His
Yeah.
most
Yeah. It
other
is.
famous work is Westworld, which I didn't know. I think I knew that at one point. But
I did not
yeah,
know that.
he worked on Westworld. Maggie Jill.
The first couple seasons were really good.
Westworld is really good. First season's really good.
Yeah. It starts to kind of go off the
A
rails,
little
but
bit. Maggie Gyllenhaal takes over Rachel Dawes.
mm,
And I kind of just want to do my take right away. So we're going to do a little bit different.
okay.
This is where I follow this podcast, Bill Simmons, one of the more famous like sports podcasts in the world. He has a whole company, and he often at this point will say, "All right, I got
Mm.
to take Kyle, turn on the TikTok camera." And I think this is just this moment. So are you ready for it, Brandon? Please argue with me afterwards.
Okay, I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
The Dark Knight is overrated, and not just
Yeah, I knew that's what
overrated.
you were going to say.
The Dark Knight is possibly the most overrated superhero movie of all time. And hold on, before you get too crazy about this. Yes,
I'm the
before
crazy
you go
one.
off the handles here. The Dark Knight is still a great movie. Heath Ledger is amazing. His Joker is arguably the greatest villain of all time. When people think of the Dark Knight, they think of Heath Ledger's Joker. And when people are asked
Mhm.
what's the greatest superhero movie of all time, it's almost unilaterally The Dark Knight. And this is where I say The Dark Knight is not like it's overrated. This is where I say it's the most overrated movie of all time because I don't think it's the best superhero movie of all time. Not anymore.
What is?
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Because that's I think that is what the argument
Oh,
is going to
I
be based on. Because if you're going to make
hold
some
on, hold
bold
on.
claim that it's
I'm
not the
not done yet.
best, you got to give me a good argument for
Oh, I'm
why
not
it's
done yet.
better. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, it's not as good as
Here's the
people say
thing.
it is
This is why
because
it's
of
not
this.
that good. As people say it is. I still think it's a great movie. I still rate it highly. But the thing is, there's a whole other movie outside of the Joker. Right? Rachel is a horrible love interest. Harvey Dent is barely a character. He has an arc, but he has no character traits. His only character trait is he's a good person who fights crime legally. That is it. The only little depth into Harvey Dent is the fact that there is one statement that he's been called Two Face in college, and that's that. This movie starts out great with the bank scene, and then from there it's just a
Yeah,
fucking roller coaster, fast
probably one of
pace,
the best opening
where like
scenes.
I don't even understand what is going on. James Gordon dies in this movie, and I didn't even know he died. People, Rachel gets
Yeah, he
killed,
did. It's a,
and it's just like a thing that
yeah,
happens. This is a movie that just,
that's what sets the
but this
face
is a,
off.
hold on,
You're
hold on,
leaving
hold on.
out the
This movie
point.
just goes, and people, and like barely understand the plot. And it's only when this movie slows down for the Joker scenes, for the action scenes, where this movie is amazing. And this movie is, in those scenes, amazing. But here's the biggest part of this movie that makes it not the greatest superhero movie of all time. Batman, the character Batman, Bruce Wayne, has no arc. He has no story. Start and finish, he's just Batman. And that is the biggest reason why I say this movie, as great as it is not the greatest movie of all time or greatest superhero movie of all time. You ask me which movie is. I think Infinity War is better. I think Civil War is up there. From a writing standpoint, I think you could argue Into the Spider Verse and Across the Spider Verse is better. Maybe not Across the Spider Verse at this point in time because it's a part one.
Okay, so Infinity War, I don't think I can give you that because Infinity War is an ensemble
Yep.
movie, right? If you just released Infinity War without the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
MCU behind it, it would not be
Well,
nearly as good
yeah,
a movie.
but
It would be
yeah,
kind of
but
trash because you wouldn't care about any of the
mhm.
characters. You wouldn't know how many character arcs are in Infinity War. Does every character have their
It's
own
just
character
Thanos.
arc? No, because there's a million characters. Yeah, right. So that's my
Yeah.
point about that. That movie is built
Yep.
upon its
It is. It
predecessors.
is.
Without
It
them,
is
it's
more
nothing.
of a potential
This,
episode of a season.
yeah, this is, and I'll give you some credence. Maybe it's not the best superhero movie ever written or made. You know what it is, though? It's the best supervillain movie ever made because Batman isn't the main character in this movie.
No, no, I don't
Joker
give
is
you
the main
that.
character in this
Joker is
movie.
not the main character. He's the
I
main focal point. He's
yep,
the focus. Batman's the
yep.
main character. He has no focus though.
No,
I give you that
no.
for Infinity War. Thanos is the protagonist in that movie, arguably.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I think Batman in this movie is more of a he's like the constant.
Yeah,
He's the force, the immovable, the like the constant. And then Joker is the actual interest, the chaos that is then had to be dealt with by the constant. I don't think that, and it's the second movie in a trilogy, and I'm pretty sure by this point they were planning on doing a trilogy. I know they were because they were planning on having the
Yep.
Joker come back for the
Riddler
third
was supposed to
movie.
be the villain for the
Um,
third one before Heath Ledger died.
well, after Heath
Before
Ledger
the
died, yeah, because they were
yeah.
like, "Oh, it was so good." No, I thought it was after because because originally they
Well,
wanted him
no,
to
I
come
think
back, and he was
from
going to
what
be
I
like the main
remember
villain.
hearing, Riddler was supposed to be the villain with Heath Ledger coming back, and it's supposed to be like a Riddler Joker team up or like rivalry. But then after he died, they thought the Riddler would be too compared to the Joker, so they went in a completely different direction.
See, I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was supposed to be the Joker, and then after Heath Ledger died, the studios were like, "Oh, do Riddler because he's similar to the
Uh,
Joker and it's different, and you can have a similar thing." And then Christopher Nolan's like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not just going to have a character that's the
yeah,
same as Heath Ledger out of respect for him." And that's why they did Bane instead.
it could be. Who knows? Who
That's my
knows?
understanding of what happened. But I don't know. It's like I don't like you want to say that I don't know. It's tough because you make the argument. Yeah, Batman. He doesn't really have an arc, and he doesn't really learn too much in this. But I don't know if that's that necessary. I mean, the first movie
Yep.
is his arc, and the third movie is his arc, and this is the middle part. This is him. This is like the defining point. Like
Hmm.
he had that his first into this, and now it's like his test.
Yeah, I agree.
After like
Yeah.
establishing himself after the first movie to see if he can stand up on his morals,
Hmm.
on his grounds, and be true to the Batman that he wants to be while going against this absolutely anarchic, insane
Yeah.
situation that he's put in and trying to stay strong and not
Can
change or fall down into those levels and give in to the Joker or sympathize with him or
can we
something
break
like that.
routine a little bit?
That wasn't the point of this.
Can we go? Let's just do our
Sure.
ratings before we go into this movie because I kind of broke routine by doing the hot take for the social medias.
Hmm.
So my rating for this film, I think initially before I started was a 5, and it was like a 5. I always thought this movie was
Yeah.
overrated, and I've had this take for a while, but I always gave it a 5.
Yeah. You've always been one of those kind of
Yeah,
hipster
a little
guys.
bit, but I always felt the same, and like rewatching it, I'm like, all right, this is my view before. I want to watch this movie and like give it like it's. I want to be proven wrong, and I watched this movie and I kind of felt the opposite. I felt stronger. Obviously, that's how biases work. Maybe I'm just biased,
Yep.
but my rating's still a 5 minus. Like it's a 5 minus now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's really anything I'd give like a actual 5 to.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect.
Well, like 5 is just like it's best of its class, and arguably, I think you can make the argument that it's just a 5. I just think this is one of those movies that like
Yeah.
this
I
movie
guess,
is
yeah,
not
when you say it like
perfect.
that.
This movie has some pretty serious flaws. It's just that Heath Ledger's Joker, when they focus upon Heath Ledger's Joker, he's his Joker is just so good that like you remember
Mm.
the positive parts, right? You remember those scenes, and those scenes are amazing. Like
Isn't that what makes the movie though? It's about those
it
experiences, about
does.
those things that you
But
remember
this
that stick in your
movie,
head. At the end of the day, the little hits and beats, if they don't quite
what's the plot of
match
this
up
movie,
throughout,
Brandon?
it's about the big picture. Chaos.
That's that your answer?
That's the whole point.
Right, but
Joker is
like this
chaos.
movie,
Yeah.
like the plot is chaos. I don't even understand like what's going on in this movie half the time.
It's because you aren't the Joker. It's all the Joker's doing. Like all of this is his orchestration, and nobody can
But the thing is,
understand
like,
what's going on in his head.
also
And that's the
I
point.
love the when Joker talks. They're like, "You have plans." Like plans? I don't have plans. You have plans. I'm like, Joker, you have your plan was
Yeah.
to get caught. You put
Yeah.
a cell phone in
I'm
it
I'm
too.
like a dog chasing a car. I wouldn't know what to do if I
It's
caught
such
it, but I
but it's
just
such the
keep
most
going.
bullshit line ever because it's like, dude, you have so
Yeah,
many plans. It's just not like
yeah, but I mean that's
yeah.
part of his character. I feel
It
like,
is
yeah.
part of his character. It's part like, he's such an unreliable narrator. "You wanna know how I got these scars and it changes?"
Mm,
I do really like his character, like, the
yep,
writing, like, how it's
I
switching.
love that.
Like,
Yeah,
this movie is great. I don't like I didn't wanna be a hater just to be a hater. I think I have some pretty valuable merits of, like, why this movie isn't the greatest superhero movie of all time. And the one movie that I will say is better that I forgot to completely even mention is Logan.
yeah,
Logan's the best
yeah,
superhero
yeah,
movie
yeah.
of all time.
Logan sits on
But
a
here's the thing,
sphere.
Dark Knight's more rememberable
Give
because of the Joker.
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? And I feel like part of that too is like Logan was the send off to a character that had been in like 10 movies at this
Different
point.
universe, though.
Yeah, but it was still like the actor, and it was the person we
Yeah.
knew and loved, and like we had gone through him for so long. Whereas you don't quite get as much build up for Batman, and we don't get
No,
that same level of
no.
send off as we do
The writing,
for
though, and the
Batman for
surprises were
Logan. But
amazing. I
yes,
think the villains just weren't as memorable,
oh
whereas, like, the Joker is.
yeah, I mean Logan, the only superhero movie to be released like in theaters in black and white because
It's so
it's
good.
just so good.
Also, first rated R second
Yeah,
rated R
I
movie
forget about that movie.
because of Deadpool, right?
I
Yeah.
think Deadpool came out first. Yeah,
And
Deadpool came
I'm
out
so
first, I
happy the
think.
movie was rated R. We will get to Logan at some point because
Yeah,
I
oh
wanna talk about that movie because that movie is amazing. I
yeah,
think I did I watch that movie with you?
yeah. That is one of we might have watched it
I was
together when it
just
came out
that was, like, the
most
first
in
movie I
theaters.
came out of theaters and just been like, "Damn,
Wow.
my what
Yeah,
I just watched
that was
a
it. Yep.
masterpiece." That being said, we're talking about Dark Knight.
Mm.
So let's
Yep.
get
Yep.
into the
Yep.
plot a little bit. And there's a lot of plots that they just go through at rapid pace. And when you read it, it's great. Like, the thing is, there's not a lot of plot holes because they do cover their ground. It's just such a bang, bang, bang,
Yep.
bang, bang. You just
Yeah, it's very
don't know
fast
what's
paced
happening.
throughout the whole thing. Yeah,
And I will say that that is a theme.
I mean it's already 2.5 hours long.
So
All these movies are very long for the time they've been.
the gang of masked criminals rob a mafia-owned bank in Gotham City, betraying and killing each other until the sole survivor Joker reveals himself as the mastermind and escapes with the money. The vigilante Batman and District Attorney Harvey Dent and Jim Gordon ally to eliminate uh, Gotham's organized crime. Batman's true identity, the billionaire Bruce Wayne, publicly supports Dent. Wayne believes Dent's success will allow Batman to retire, allowing him to romantically pursue his childhood friend Rachel Dawes despite her relationship with Dent. And I will say that beginning scene is amazing. It's so great. It's like you
Oh
know,
yeah,
like you're like, is that the Joker? I don't know if that's the Joker, but you have a really good idea.
where they're all wearing the
And
clown
it's just
masks.
like
Yep,
it was just such a shocking like, oh
the
yeah.
reveal. What doesn't kill you makes you stranger.
And
Yep.
that is one of the best like superhero openings of all time. Was that scene?
Oh yeah, one of the best film movie openings of all
It
time.
was
I
just
mean,
great.
it gets you
I also just like
bang,
um
bang, bang right away.
was the bank owner was that Matthew McConaughey? I never looked that up. He looks like he's Matthew.
No, it's not. No, it's not Matthew McConaughey. It's another guy that's somewhat
Okay.
famous.
It looks like Matthew McConaughey,
Uh,
doesn't it
I
though?
can't. He resembles him, but
I'm
it's not
like
Matthew McConaughey.
I just remember watching it. Like I'm pretty sure I looked into this. I'm pretty sure it's not Matthew McConaughey, but I always think it's Matthew McConaughey. Like um. So moving on, I will say the whole like the idea of Batman wanting to get Rachel Dawes, even though she's in a relationship with Harvey Dent, is so interesting that I wish they would have like slowed down and actually spent time with that. But this movie never does, and you get the idea
Well,
of it.
yes, I think that's part of like the idea behind it too, though, is that like yeah, he wants to slow down and do this, but
Yeah,
Batman can't slow down. Like all of this stuff
mhm,
is still happening, and like it's coming,
yeah.
whether he's ready for it or not. Doesn't matter that he wants a relationship with her, wants to spend time. He's got the Joker on his
I just
doorstep now. burning down the whole
I just
city.
feel like this plot point would just hit harder if they would have took the time to actually like slow down. Because like there's so many.
Yeah, I do think it's a point though by the end, by not him not slowing down and having the chance to like actually do anything with it, just goes to serve the fact that he can't.
Yeah.
You know, the whole idea that, you know, when he's not Batman anymore, then maybe, but until then, as long as there needs to be a Batman, then he can't be in a
All
relationship
right,
with
let's go through this a little bit. Um, Gotham's mafia boss gathers to discuss what happened with the Joker and the police. The guy from Hong Kong, I forget his name, Lau. The accountant Lau is like, "Hey, Paul put the money in me, or I already took it all. I'm gonna go back to, I believe, Hong Kong, so they can't touch me." Joker makes
Yeah.
his appearance. Batman goes to Hong Kong, takes Lau, kidnaps him,
Kidnaps
brings
him.
him back.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm like,
Little international
yeah.
incident there.
And then they go to the diner, or I am fumbling this hard. I'm trying to like paraphrase because I don't want to read all of it. So the
Mm.
bosses accept Joker's offer to kill the Batman, including the judge, police, and the commissioner. Gordon saves the mayor. Joker threatens his attack will continue until Batman reveals his identity. He targets Dent at a fundraiser that Bruce's runs, throws Rachel out the window, but Batman rescues her. That scene was really cool, but I feel like what's not
Mm.
talked about is that like they completely skip what happens next. And I don't know if you caught this, Brandon. He saves Rachel and then like moves on to the next day. Like, what the fuck happened from there?
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of the small plot holes in this movie. Yeah. Like, what does the Joker do next? What
Like,
happens?
it's
Yeah.
like, all right, we're all good. Rachel's good.
Just leave.
Hey, Rachel's safe, everybody. Everything is fine. It is okay. Rachel is safe.
That is probably something that was just ultimately cut down because the movie was already two and a
Yeah, it's
half
such
hours
a
long.
big, like, it's not a big plot hole, but it's also just one of those like, how do you miss that? I feel like it should have been like
Yeah,
something should have been explained.
yeah, but I mean, what you like almost taking like a minute to try to wrap that scene up is almost worse than
That's,
just like not
I
wrapping it up
guess.
at all.
Maybe there could have been a throwaway line like, "Oh, he just ran away" or something. I don't know. Um, Wayne struggles
Yeah,
to understand Joker's motivations. Alfred Pennyworth says, "Some men just want to watch the world burn," which I think is a fascinating like line, and like that
iconic
line
line.
just like sticks with me forever. Some men just want to watch the
Hmm.
world burn,
Oh yeah,
and I love it because it's like every man wants something. It's like the Joker just is. Like he is just chaos. He wants just chaos.
chaos incarnate. Hmm.
Dent claims that he is Batman to lure out Joker, and then this whole thing that happens. Uh, he Joker attacks the police convoy in a huge, awesome car sequence. Batman and Gordon apprehend the Joker, even though
Yeah.
Gordon is dead. Apparently, Joker Jordan is promoted.
Well, they. Yeah, I guess we kind of skipped that. That was like a. It was like a setup
Yep.
sniper thing, right? Where he was wearing like a vest or something like that, and they made it seem like he
Hmm.
actually got killed.
And this is where,
Yeah.
like, even reading this, like, it's so hard to understand this movie because it's just so rapid fire, right?
Yeah.
Um, at the police station, they get the Joker. They interrogate the Joker in an amazing scene. Who he says he finds Batman
Yep.
entertaining. He has no intention of killing him. Having deduced Batman's feelings for Rachel's, the Joker reveals that she and Dent are now separately in the building rigs to explode. Batman races to save Rachel, while Gordon races to save Dent. However, it is switched. The bomb kills Rachel and burns Dent. What's your thoughts on like all of that?
Yep. Uh, I mean, I think it was a high stakes thing that actually paid off. A lot of times in these superhero movies and stuff like that, they pull their
Hmm.
punches. They're afraid to actually like kill somebody and stuff like that, and actually have some
Yeah,
impact or consequences to the actions. But you know, Batman, he made his choice. And he was tricked, obviously, but he made his choice, and it even still wasn't able to save Dent from being
I
burned
thought
half
the
alive too.
setup was amazing. The whole idea of like
Mm.
the Joker being integrity, like interrogated, and then being like, haha, the whole classic, like, you got to save one, but you can't save both scenario, and actually having it have consequences. I thought it was
Yep.
amazing. And this is why I wish Rachel would have been a better character and a better, like, plot point, and they would have took time, because I felt like the death of Rachel could have been felt a lot.
Yeah. I mean, she was kind of like a shoehorned in character from the
Yeah,
very
which
beginning. They wanted to have a. I mean, she was written specifically for
I
these
just like
movies,
I just
and
don't feel anything towards her. I feel
yeah,
nothing for Rachel. They're like,
I
"Oh,
would
Rachel's
agree
dead.
with
Cool.
that. I also kind of feel like Batman didn't really feel anything towards her too.
That's fair. That's fair.
To be honest,
That's
that's kind of
fair."
the feeling that I got. Not a ton, at least.
Coleman reseduces Batman identity, which is like, I feel like it's pretty easy to deduce that, like, if you work for the company. And attempts to expose it.
Yep.
Joker threatens to blow up a hospital as he's killed, which again is fascinating. Everything with the Joker is just great. Uh, Police
Mm.
evacuate a hospital. Gordon struggles to keep Reese alive. The Joker meets with Dent, who is now turned into Two-Face, persuades him to turn the law into his own hands. Dent defers decision making to a coin and then goes on a killing spree.
His double-sided coin that's no longer
Yep.
double-sided.
Dent takes. Oh, I skipped like a whole thing. Goes on a killing spree. Joker then takes hostage two evacuation ferries, one with
Oh,
civilians,
yep,
one
yep.
with
Yeah,
prisoners.
see, like the stakes of this
Yeah.
movie, it's just like so, like,
And again,
yeah,
it's
it's
the same
awesome.
choice. You save one or save the other, but it gives it to the civilians who's like, they're going to do it. One of them's going to blow up the other one. If they don't, I'm going to kill both of them. And then Batman is able,
Mm.
through cell phone usage, is able to find the Joker and take him down. And then neither fairies kill each other, and then he's able to save the day before Joker is able to kill them all.
I mean, that whole
Fucking
scene,
epic.
like between the two ships and stuff like that, like the one's full of prisoners and the one's full of families, and they're like arguing about what to do. They both have the detonator for the other boat, and then like the prisoner guy is like, "Oh, give
Mhm.
it to me. I'll do it." He's like, "I know you don't want to do it. I'll do it. Nobody wants to die here." And he gives it to him, and instead of doing it, he throws
Yep.
it out the window. He's like, "No." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome."
There's so much to be done. One, the hospital scene with the Joker, he's like, "Hi," and he's like,
Oh yeah,
the
the
nurse, and
improvised,
they're
yeah,
like,
yep,
"Oh,
the
yeah, just
improvised
the."
explosion scene when it doesn't go off. Yeah, and then whoa, whew, yeah, so great.
It's so amazing. Like, I understand why people love this movie and think it's the best superhero, because, like,
Mm,
fucking Heath Ledger is amazing. The Joker is great. The writing is great.
yep.
His acting is great. It I just feel
Mm,
like this movie doesn't breathe. That's like, yeah.
doesn't need to breathe. It's the second in the trilogy.
Um, Afterwards, Stent takes Gordon's family hostage, blaming his negligence for Rachel's death. He flips a coin, decides the fate. Batman saves Gordon's son. Dent falls to his death. But the whole philosophy talk comes in. Dent is the hero the
Mm.
city needs. Batman is not. Batman goes in retirement, essentially, and the city blames Batman for the death of Dent.
You either live long enough, you either die a hero, or you live long enough to see
I'm
yourself
hat.
become the villain. See, how many quotes are there from this movie specifically? Do people just quote
Yeah,
like on an everyday basis? I can think we've
this
named
movie
so
has,
many, just from like
yeah,
all the different characters. Some men just
mhm.
want to watch the world burn. So many lines from the Joker, lines from Dent.
This movie's great.
Yeah,
It's a 5.
iconic.
It's a 5 for sure. 5 minus or 5. I
Yep.
still think it's the most overrated superhero movie, because I don't think it's the number one movie, because there's so many like errors and so many things. I
I think you know what I would say though. If you take every superhero movie in like a
Yeah.
vacuum, like excluding any sequels, prequels, anything like that, I think it does hold up as the best. So I think if you just have Logan on its own, without any of the prior characters, if you can imagine that you don't know who Professor X is and it's just some random old guy who's having seizures, and like if you can take away all that stuff, whereas with Batman in this movie, everything is so contained in this
It
movie
is.
that you don't need any of these prior. ideas, relationships, building, or anything like that in order to get what this
This I
movie
feel
is
like
looking
Batman:
for.
The Dark Knight is a movie with amazing scenes. That it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie with amazing scenes, with amazing moments, multiple amazing moments. But like the overall movie aspect of it is so so. I don't know. I could be arguing hard on it. I feel like I'm just defending my point that I started out with. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
One of the best ever, but it's not the best.
I still,
All right.
yeah, it's not the best movie ever
Yeah.
made. I still think you can make an argument best, like in the vacuum scenario that I put out. I think I'd put it above Logan because I don't think Logan has that same emotional impact without like the years of seeing Wolverine behind it
It's
and
hard to
Professor X
say.
and
You
stuff
can't
like
really
that.
put yourself in that vacuum.
Yeah, no, you can't. But I guess like a different scenario would be like imagine like the same kind of movie without any known characters. Like
Yeah.
imagine there's just replaced with completely random people that you've never heard of. Powers. It's like old killing superhero with an even older
I
superhero. I
I
still think
still
it'd be
think it's
good,
Logan.
but I don't know if it would top.
I still think it's Logan.
I
But
don't
like
know.
that's the difference between like is the most memorable movie the better movie, or is it the movie that you think is just better writing? So
Yeah,
who knows? This is clearly the best Joker ever, right? Like there is no argument for best Joker
that I yes, I
outside of
want to
maybe
say
Mark
that,
Hamill.
but I don't think you could. Yeah, well, I don't. I mean, Walking Phoenix too. You can't
Yeah,
forget about the
I
Joker.
don't know if
That's like that. That's the thing that kind of throws a little bit of a
Joaquin
wrench
Phoenix is
into this
good.
mix. It's a different take. It's definitely a different take on the Joker. It's much more realistic in the
Yeah,
sense of like mental illness and stuff like that. But it's a very fascinating take on the Joker, nonetheless. And so I don't know if you can like unequivocally put Heath Ledger at
hmm
the top anymore. He's still at the top. Don't get me wrong, but I think that we've got like Walking Phoenix. Like there's potential for other people
I
to
think
do some
so.
serious justice
Joker's
to
such a
Joker the
fascinating
Joker.
character because like there's so many ways you can take on Joker. There isn't just like
Mm-hmm.
one interpretation that is like the end all be all. Because I feel like there's some superheroes that like there's only like one way you can really portray the villain. Whereas like
Mm.
the Joker, there is many versions of like there's comics literally called like
I mean, we've
Three
gotten three.
Jokers,
Yeah,
where it's like three different personalities of Joker. And like Joker just
I mean, we've gotten three different versions of
yeah,
Joker essentially
Nicholson.
with Jack Nicholson's, Heath Ledger's, and Joaquin
Yeah.
Phoenix is all very different
Same with
in like their style and their
the
approach.
Batman's Joker. Brief moment with it. Like his take is vastly different, which
Yeah,
I really want to see his take because I think his
I'd be curious
Jared
to see
Leto's Joker is not great, but like
the
I
worst.
feel like his Joker could have been good if given time to actually like be the Joker. Like he's in
Yeah,
Zack Snyder's.
you know what I think
Huh?
I've realized? I don't think I like Jared
I
Leto
mean,
that much. I just don't think he's that good
no,
of an
not so much. I feel like it could have made it work.
actor. He's pretty overrated. I think is the issue.
So does Two Face work in this movie?
Uh, I think so in a different
Yeah,
way. It's not the same like Two Face. It's not like the crime boss Two Face that
yeah,
we're thinking about here. This is a man who is
yeah.
broken,
Or broke.
essentially, like pushed to a breaking point. Yeah, yeah,
I
broke. Yeah, he
I like that. I
snapped
like that.
into
If you
two,
take him for his
and
vacuum, sorry to cut you off. If you take him in his vacuum,
yeah,
he's a great tragic character who like as soon as his loved one is lost, he is just broken. I do like that aspect of him. But
mm,
as like Two Face as a whole is I wish we was just seen more of Harvey Dent.
yeah. And if he would have been like in the
Yeah.
first movie, maybe a little bit, if it would have been teased a little bit more, kind of like to establish him as like this the White Knight of Gotham, essentially, like he's supposed to be
So,
before
all
his
right.
down.
Is this the best superhero movie ever? Is this what you would you put that there?
Well, I think well, I we just kind of
Yeah,
talked about
you
that
would
a
put
little
it there,
bit,
right?
right? I mean, I do think Logan has a good argument for it up there. But if we're trying to do it, like I said, in a vacuum,
Okay.
I think it's hard to argue that like what this encompasses can be beat by
What
anything
rating do you
else.
give it?
So I
5.
give it a
Okay.
5.
I will say, like,
Yeah.
top 5 superhero movies of all time, easily, without a doubt, it has to be there. Has to be.
Mm.
I think if you want to say top
Oh
3,
yeah.
I think I would put it top 3 too. And honestly, it is in
Mm.
consideration for me for top or greatest superhero movie of all time. I think it's in consideration because, like you said, there is some really great. No, there is amazing, like some of the best moments ever in superhero filming history, if not like the greatest moments ever.
I don't think there's been a more quotable superhero movie.
I think I agree with you. I think
Mm.
there.
Just like really like, and like in the lines, like they're deep too.
Mhm.
It's not just like little joke catchphrases and stuff like that. Like they all have like
Yeah,
such meaning to them.
I agree
Like
with
all
you.
of these lines and
I
phrases.
still think it's overrated because I don't think it should be unilaterally the greatest superhero movie of all time. I think it needs to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I just don't think as many people have seen Logan.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, last one. We got to be a little bit quicker on this
Mm.
one because we spent too much time on the last 2 films, as always.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Dark Knight is definitely the one to
Yeah.
talk
All
about.
right, Dark
So
Knight Rises, written again by Jonathan Nolan. I always want to highlight who writes these films. Christopher Nolan directs. Um,
yeah,
we'll get into I don't have a hot take for this film, so we'll just get into the plot right away and we'll talk about it. Bane, a former member of League of Shadows,
yeah,
leads an attack on a CIA plane over Uzbekistan, Uzbekistan, to abduct a nuclear physicist,
yep,
Dr. Leonard Pavel, who is pretty sure that's Game of Thrones actor Peter Baelish. When I
yeah,
saw him, I was like, I
yep,
know
yep, yep.
him. Great,
Yeah, Littlefinger.
Littlefinger, great actor.
Yep.
He's in
Mm.
The Wire. Great character in The Wire. Fakes Pebbles' death in the crash.
Mm.
Meanwhile, 8 years after the death of Gotham City, Harvey Dent, organized crime has been eradicated by legislation, the Dent Act, giving expanded powers to the police. James Gordon, police commissioner, has kept Dent's killing spree a secret and allowed the blame for his crimes to fall on Batman. Bruce Wayne is still mourning the death of Rachel Dawes and has become recluse and essentially retired, and Wayne Enterprises has been stagnant. What's your thoughts on? Okay, go
Here's
for it.
one thing.
Go for it. No,
Okay,
you go.
real quick, just the beginning, because I might have missed it. Did something happen? Do they show what happens to his
No,
knee, or is it just like an
I
injury that he
think it,
has all of a sudden? They never like explain it. They're never just like, I got it
I
fighting like this
think
guy
he
or something like that, like
got
busted
it
my knee or something.
when he fell with Harvey Dent. I
Okay,
think that's
that see like that could make
which
sense.
is
I just feel like they
they
never
don't
like
touch
touch
upon
upon it or
anything in
something
this
like
whole
that, which
trilogy,
is just kind
man.
of weird. Yeah,
Things just happen
yeah,
and they don't.
yeah.
They're all show no
To
tell.
be fair though, like I mean,
Well, no, there is.
yeah, but at the same time, like you get to that point where it's like, should Batman just be like walking around
No,
expositing or expositing
that's
all
fair.
this stuff all the time?
That's
You
fair.
know,
It is. It is a more grounded. He should have knee issues. Um,
yeah.
what's your thoughts on this opening scene in comparison to the other opening scenes of this trilogy? And what's your thoughts on the first like Bane? The,
The voice. That's what it is. It always shocks me at how intense his voice is.
can
Like I feel like in my head it's like a joke,
uh,
right? And then I hear him talk in the movie, and I'm like, oh no, it's not a joke. This is
can I
actually
do
how he talks.
another hot take?
Yeah,
I
you like the Bane
fucking
voice?
love his voice. I
You're good.
like okay,
Uh,
I was like you and like pretty much everybody else. When I heard Bane talk for the first time, I was like, what the fuck is this? Why is he like all high pitched? Like to me it threw me off a lot initially. But now like knowing what his performance is and like who he is as a character and then like watching it again, like when he like first makes his introduction, I don't know why. I just really like the high pitched voice. I it's just
I think that first scene is the worst with his voice. I think it's like the most exaggerated in
yeah.
that first part in the plane. Um, I don't know. I don't hate it.
I was
It's just
born in the
it's
dark. You
distracting.
immediately adopted it. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
so iconic.
and the way and the way that he talks to, like the words that he chooses to use and stuff like, oh, what happens if I rip that mask off? It would be extremely painful for you. Like
It's
what?
like it's so bad, but
It's just
it's so g
goofy.
but I
It's
love it.
just
I don't know
goofy.
why. I don't know why I like his voice. I feel like I shouldn't. I just do, because it's so different, it's so unique, but, like, it also is, like, terrifying too, in a way of, like, you don't take him seriously, but you know what he's about. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's just
I don't know. I That's my hot take. I like it.
it's a controversial, yeah,
Um
controversial position.
Banalist businessman John Daggett to buy Bruce's fingerprints. Cat burglar Selena Kyle steals Bruce Wayne's prints from Wayne Manor for Daggett. He double crosses her. She alerts the police, who pursue Bane and Daggett's henchmen into the sewers while Selena Kyle flees. The henchmen capture Gordon and take him to Bane, but he escapes and is found by John Blake, who's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, an orphan who's deducted. Bruce, yeah,
Robin,
yep,
John Blake.
it really is. I like how he's named John Blake, but he has the same
Unnecessary.
like story as Tim Drake, where like he
Yeah,
just deduces who he is because he has the same look in the eye as he does, which is such a like a silly.
yeah. It's
It's
literally
silly almost. Like, wait, that's all it took?
yeah. But at the same time, like if anyone's going to make like a connection like that, it would be a kid because everyone else would never like allow
That's fair.
themselves to
That's
make that
fair.
connection.
Bane attacks Gotham Stock Exchange. It just looks like New York Stock Exchange. Um, He uses Bruce's fingerprints to verify the series of fraudulent transactions, leaving Bruce bankrupt, which I thought was really easy for that to happen. Batman resurfaces to pursue Bane's henchmen after Bruce will get himself killed fighting. His butler Alfred resigns in hope of saving him. Burns a letter from Rachel left for him that said that she was going to bury Mary Dent. Bane expands his operations and kills Daggett while Bruce and the new CEO Miranda Tate become lovers. Apparently, I forget that Miranda Tate's like in this movie.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
mean
she's just
Talia?
like there almost. Like it was like a reveal. It was
Yeah,
like, aha, she's the super villain. It's like who?
yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I feel like it's one of those ones where it's like she was like working, like they're trying too hard to
Yeah,
cover it up to where like it makes plot holes. To where like why would she be doing this if she was actually bad the whole time? Like why would she even do
yeah.
that stuff?
Uh,
Doesn't really make sense. Except for to try to confuse us and make us think that she's not who we think she is.
this movie I feel like is very much Dark Knight, but like it just doesn't hit the same. And what I mean by is,
Yeah, Dark Knight
yeah,
without the
it's
Joker.
basically like this is where like why I have such a like strong take on Dark Knight, because I'm like they did it again with Dark Knight Rises. It just doesn't like, but this movie isn't as neat.
But can you imagine if Heath Ledger didn't pass away and was in this movie and had the Joker in it as
Oh,
well?
it'd been fucking amazing. I do like Bane though. I
Yeah,
do like
it
Bane
would
in
work.
this movie. Um,
I like Bane. I don't know. I wish he wasn't attached to the League of Shadows. I wish he was his
agreed.
own thing.
Agreed.
I didn't like that part.
Kyle agrees to take Bane, Batman to Bane, but instead leads him to a trap under Wayne Tower. Bane gloats that he intends to accomplish Ra's al Ghul's mission to destroy Gotham City before he cripples Batman by stamping his back in combat, which is amazing. I love the memes now, where it's like
Yeah,
just the pink guy, like, "What's up?"
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
JoJo or
Uh,
yeah. I think
he then
yeah.
takes Bruce to ancient underground prison in the Middle East, which doesn't make sense. Where Bruce learns that Ra's al Ghul's child was born and raised in
Mm,
prison, but had to be protected that aided child in escaping, thought to be impossible, which is very much like Bane's story in the comics, where he grew up in Santa Prista at the prison. Back in Gotham, Kyle is
Mm,
arrested by
literally
Blake
called the League of Shadows.
during an attempt to flee the country before Bane traps the police into the sewers, destroys all but one bridge surrounding the city, kills the mayor, forces Pavel, and basically just takes over the city.
Mm.
My God, this movie has so much going into it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, 5 months later, Bruce is better with a broken back, escapes captivity, returns to Gotham somehow. One of the bigger plot holes. As
Yep.
Batman, he
The biggest plot
yep,
hole in
and
all these movies.
Kyle frees the police. Together, they clash with Bane's army in the streets. During the battle, Batman overpowers Bane, but Talia stabs Batman in the abdomen, revealing herself to be Talia al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul's Ra's al Ghul's daughter. Unable to activate the bomb detonator due to Gordon's blocking the signal, Talia leaves to find the bomb. Kyle returns, kills Bane somehow. Another plot hole that I hate how Bane dies. Batman pursuit.
She shoots him with the
Yeah, it
bike.
just
Blows the shit
but
out of
she
him.
remotely floods and it destroys the reactor chamber before dying. With no way to stop the detonation, Batman reveals his identity to Gordon, uses his aerocraft, the Bat, to haul the bomb away, where it safely explodes. Afterwards, Batman's presumed dead, hailed a hero. Wayne Manor becomes an orphanage. Bruce's estate is left to Alfred. Gordon finds the bat signal repaired. Lucius Fox discovers that Batman fixed Batman's functioning autopilot, and Alfred finds Bruce alive with Kyle happily ever after. Blake is actually Robin and gets the ability to become the next Batman.
Yeah, I think that they kind of muddied that water. I don't think that they should have had that
Mhm.
Robin line in there. I think the whole idea was just setting him up to take over as Batman. I don't think he was ever meant to be Robin.
Yeah,
He was going to take over
this
and
movie
accompany
was just a
Batman.
lot.
Adding that Robin thing in was
So,
unnecessary.
thoughts on this
But
movie
yeah,
overall?
also the idea that Bruce is the one that fixes the autopilot in the plane, even though he's shown no tech
Yeah,
ability whatsoever through the entire series, yet he is the one that's able to program this thing
also
and
gone
fix
for
it.
5 months.
Yeah, that part
Has
kind
no
of,
time to actually
yeah,
fix it, nor draw a bat on the building.
yeah, or the technical ability to fix
That
it
too,
that you're
yeah. Like,
seeing.
he has some technical
Yeah,
abilities. Like, I if
yeah, but I mean, like they never show him like
no,
designing any of this stuff. The whole point was that he just
if he
takes
would
it from
fix it
users.
on his own and they would have shown that, then I would be like, "Okay, okay, okay." But they don't show it at all, so it's like that on top of, like, everything else, it's hard to believe. It's a lot of tell.
It's
Yeah.
very convenient. Yeah, it's very
I
convenient.
also don't like the idea that he doesn't die.
Yeah, it probably would have been. I don't know. As a kid, I would have been a lot more
Mhm.
sad if he wouldn't have had that at the end because the ending gave hope that we'd get more
Yeah.
Batman movies, even though obviously that was never really the intent. Um, Looking back at it now, probably would have been a better ending, better thing if he would have sacrificed
Yeah.
himself and like it passed the baton onto Blake, and then maybe we would have got like a new age Batman kind of
Batman
thing.
Beyond
But
almost.
yeah, yeah, Batman
Kind
Beyond
of.
Mini, because
Yeah.
it's not that far in the future. But
Does
yeah,
this movie hold up? It's only been 11 years since this movie came out.
I mean
Yeah.
visually and
Yeah.
stuff, definitely. That's the absolute like fact of using practical effects as much as possible. Is practical
I do
effects just
like
hold up
I
better
do
than
like
CGI
the
does.
practical effects more when someone's like,
And it's like mostly
yeah.
practical effects. Like even the bat plane and stuff like that, they had that thing
Mhm.
like on wires and like on a car flying around through the streets and stuff. Like it
Yeah.
looks good.
There
Like
is, like
visually, it looks really good. The scene in the football
oh, that was
stadium where
yeah,
the whole like thing collapses while the dude's
that was
running a
great.
touchdown, like that's
I'm
awesome.
glad Hines Ward survived. He's one of my favorite football players. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, good thing he survived." Big Ben, he's probably
Everyone else,
dead. Could you just imagine, like, running a kick through and back and you just turn around and like, "Wait, what? That was"
the whole field is just
like,
gone. Yeah.
I also just like that it's Pittsburgh too. Like that's just part of Gotham, even though Gotham is New
Yeah.
York in this time. I will say Gotham looks really weird because it's like It was Chicago for the first two films, and then it was New York. And I'm like, ooh, this looks
Yeah,
different. This isn't the same Gotham.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was on purpose to kind of show like the
That's
change
fair.
that's happened since like the Joker has been defeated and they were able
Hmm.
to like slow down organized crime so much that the city itself just started looking a
Yeah.
lot nicer and newer and cleaner and brighter. Obviously, like a lot more of it's in the daylight and everything like that. It's like kind of showing Gotham as like this redeemed city kind of thing in need of saving instead of this dark, grungy
Just
thing.
Gotham and Hostage, that storyline. Did that work for you? I feel like that's one so hard to believe that Gotham was like in hostage.
Yeah, like a city would be taken out for months.
Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought it was cool.
I could see it for like a day, a
Maybe a
couple
month,
days or something like that, like
maybe a
being
month.
occupied. Yeah, a couple weeks maybe, but like half a year, you're telling me
Let it
America just
happen.
like
I
let it
will say that
happen?
this is a
Yeah, that's
popular
tough. Like
storyline.
they would have
This is
just
a
dropped
popular
nukes on it.
storyline in Marvel Comics, or not Marvel Comics, Batman comics, where they do like this idea where Gotham is this rogue state. Like Arkham City does this too, and I think
Yeah,
it's a really
kind of taking
yeah,
over
and it's a
the world.
popular idea. It's really cool. I like the idea of like Scarecrow being the judge now, and he's just like exile or death.
Mm,
Exile it is, and they have to go like walk across the river.
walk
Yeah,
out on
like
the
I thought
ice.
that
Yep.
was a really cool. I like the idea of like there's a nuclear bomb that explodes, and like Bane being kind of in charge. I like it. It's just hard to believe. And man, we just lost. Oh, Brandon's back.
We're back. Yeah, popped out for a
Also,
second.
how
We're good.
dumb are these cops?
Yeah, that they all get filed into the caves just to get trapped down there. Yeah.
Like the person who said it too is like high in medication. You know, like
Mm,
Commissioner Gordon, what should we do? Go in after him. It's like, wait, this dude is like hopped up off of like medicine. Should we
yeah.
like maybe not listen to him?
Maybe charging directly into a trap with our entire police force isn't the best idea.
Oh man, could you imagine being stuck in sewers for like 5 months?
Yeah, right.
I
Like, how
don't
do they all
know.
live?
Um,
There's a lot of food down there in the sewers, a lot of rats to
how'd
eat,
you
I
feel?
guess.
How'd you
It's
feel
a long
about
time.
Bruce Wayne losing all his money?
Uh, to be honest, I kind of forgot that that was even a thing that happened in the movie because
It
it feels
just
so
this
irrelevant.
movie is this
It
movie
doesn't
just
change
goes,
anything.
man. It's like the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
It just goes, but it doesn't. It's not as like neatly tightened up. I feel like this movie should have been a part one, part two. Like
Yeah.
I feel like
I think it like ends with like Gotham being occupied and him getting his back broken and then picks up in the next movie with him recovering
yeah,
and taking Gotham back over. Probably would have been
I
better.
think it would have been great. I think you could have Talia have more time in being like the new racial ghoul and like revealing herself. And even if Bane like does die
Mm,
in like a similar vein that he does in this like in the part two, I think that would make sense. Where in this movie it's just like boom, he's dead. All right, moving on. But
yeah. I do think it would benefit from being two movies. I think that's a
all
good
right,
idea to kind of
we
really
have
give it time to breathe and
10 minutes
space
to
it
talk
out.
about the rest of everything. What's the rating? What's the rating you
Okay.
have for this movie?
Uh, what did I
Three
give Batman
plus.
Begins? Three plus? Three, maybe a three plus. I don't know.
I
I don't
think
hate it. I know we talked a lot of crap about it, but I mean, it's still
I think I
very
give it a three
enjoyable.
plus. I think
And
I'm in the three. I don't think it's great just because I think like the story itself is so lost. But I think there's some great
yeah,
performances. I love Tom Hardy's Bane. I think uh,
I mean, I do. I like him. The voice gets me, but there's more
yeah.
than just the voice.
All right. Some final questions. Is this the best superhero trilogy ever?
Can you name a better one?
I can give you two.
Guardians of
Yep.
the Galaxy, and what's the other
I
one?
don't. I think I was going to say Captain America.
Does that count as a
It does.
trilogy with
I don't
Civil
think
War?
it. It does. It does. But it's hard to say that like it's a better trilogy. I would say Guardians is better.
I think yeah, it's more contained, but I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3 yet.
See it, it's good. All right.
I know, I've heard. It's on my
Do
list.
these I know I asked this a lot. This trilogy still holds up, right? I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it still holds up. I think I knock it just a little bit back. Because I think we have more movies
yeah.
to compare it to.
It's been 20 years. Yeah, it's been 20 years, and the genre
We
has
have a whole
changed quite a bit.
MCU now.
You know.
We have like
Yep.
superhero.
And a couple failed.
Oh
Oh no.
no. We're
Oh,
back.
are you back?
Yep.
Can you hear
We're
me?
good. All right.
Okay. We got a couple of failed DC universes
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I will say like this is better than anything DCU's done, as we mentioned before.
Yeah,
Rank these movies for me. But
nothing has got
yeah.
with these three. Oh,
Actually, no.
from
Actually, hold on,
worst
hold
to
on, hold
best.
on, hold on. We'll rank everything for that we watched. I
Okay,
wrote that before writing the rankings. Rank the villains for me, because I have a list.
from these, from worst to best.
Let's go best to worst. Yeah.
Best to worst. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Joker is number one,
Yep.
obviously. Um, then I'd probably put Scarecrow
Okay.
before Bane, and
Yep.
then Bane, then Raish. No,
Okay.
Two Face,
All right.
then Raish, then Talia at the very end because she's barely a
Yeah.
character.
I have Joker as one. I have Bane as two. I have
Mm.
Raish as three. Two Face as four. Scarecrow as five. And like you can push back on Scarecrow for me. I feel like when you put him two, I'm like, oh, I have him low.
He's yeah. I think he's not like super impactful or anything like that, but he is every time he is on the
Yeah,
screen,
yeah.
he is
Cillian Murphy
entertaining to
does
watch, and I'm
steal the
curious to see what
scene. I
happens.
will say.
Yeah.
Catwoman
Mm.
6, Talia 7, Falcone's 8.
Oh, I forgot Cat.
Yeah,
I don't consider Catwoman to be a villain in this
uh,
movie. She like doesn't even fight Batman at all. So I mean, I guess she kind of betrays
she's
him,
an
but it's like
antagonist of sorts.
didn't he?
Anti-hero.
Yeah, like she betrayed him by bringing him to Bane, which is what he asked her to do to begin
Hmm.
with, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the whole thing? Was that she was going to
Yep.
bring him to Bane, but then she brings him to Bane and somehow is betraying him by bringing him to Bane? I
Another
didn't
plot hole.
get
Huh?
that. Yeah, I didn't quite
Does
understand that part.
realistic Batman work? I think so.
Yes, I think it
Because
does work. I think this trilogy proves
the
that.
Batman is a realistic Batman in a way.
Yep.
It's weird that we're getting
Yeah.
another realistic gritty Batman, but it's also like different than this version because it's less themes, less philosophy talk. Whereas this is like a lot of
Yeah.
philosophy talk.
More character based. Yeah. The new
Yeah.
one's more character driven.
Which is probably
I
why I
feel
like
like.
that one a little bit more.
I think the new one it still has the potential to kind of go in
Hmm.
some of those directions. You know, be a little bit more out there, like the way that Gotham is portrayed, and it's a bigger. You know, I like the way that Gotham looks a lot more in the Batman than in this whole
Yeah.
trilogy for the most part. I mean, it looks good, but it doesn't quite hit as Gotham to me like it does
All right.
in the
All right.
Batman.
Last up, we're gonna rank all the movies we watched so far,
Okay.
and there's 7 movies. Should I go first or should Well, I'll go first.
Well, we did do a review of the Batman.
Oh, do you want me to put the
So
Batman in
the
there?
eight. Well, I mean, we did do a review on
We
it and
did.
watched it.
Well, that was going to be next.
We did a video about
How about we leave it off for now, and then when we get back to it, we'll put it
it.
back
Okay.
on.
I swear we did a whole
We talked
podcast
about the
about the Batman.
Batman. It wasn't like the pod. All right.
Okay. Okay.
So the 7 that we did, we'll just leave the
Okay.
Batman out for now. I put Batman Forever at
Okay.
7. I know me and you already talked about that.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin 6.
Yeah.
I think me and you flipped those two. I put Dark Knight
Yeah.
Rises 5. 89 I have at 4.
Hmm.
Begins I have at 3. Returns I have at 2. And Dark Knight's 1.
Hmm. It's interesting. I don't returns. Returns is
Yep.
Penguin, Catwoman. Okay. So I
Yeah.
always confuse the names of all those. Um, hmm. I think I would go. So Batman and Robin is Mr.
Yep.
Freeze, Bane, right? No,
Freeze. Yeah. Yep.
that Batman. Yeah. Okay.
I know
Yeah.
you'd.
Okay. That one. So
I know you'd
Batman and
flip
Robin
those two.
is my number. Yeah, and then I put uh, the Riddler, Two Face one, Batman
Yep. That's
Forever
six.
at six. Then what do we got? We got Batman Returns, Batman '89,
Yep.
and the other three.
He's thinking hard.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I
this
like
is
see your
tough.
face right now. You are. You
I'm
are.
thinking hard. I think Batman '89 is going to
Okay.
go fifth, and then The Dark Knight
Okay.
Rises. I'm going to put Batman Returns at number
Okay.
three, and Batman Begins, and
Okay.
then The Dark Knight.
I
I think
respect
that's
that. I those are the ones I was like actually deciding on. I'm like, is Rises or 89? I'm like, I think 89 is a better film overall, but I think I like Rises. I think it's enjoyable for me.
yeah. I
Begins or
think yeah,
Return.
Returns was the
I
most
fucking love
surprising
that
one for me.
movie. It's so like, it's just a
Yeah,
fun watch. Where Begins is kind of like not as fun, but it's a. I don't know if it's a better movie, but like I think like it has its place. I don't know. I have Returns just slightly ahead of it.
yeah,
If I had to put the
yeah.
Batman, I think we already know where the Batman would go in this list. I think we both yeah.
Number two.
And I think it has a case for number 1. Not that I'm saying it's number 1.
I think yeah. I think it has a case, but the case will be proven
I
with the
agree.
sequel.
I agree. All right, Batman. I just called you Batman. Biggest compliment ever. Brandon.
Ha! Wow. Don't help me like that, guy.
Brandon, any
I mean, I'm not saying I'm Batman, but no one's ever seen me and
That's
Batman in the
fair.
same room
All right, last thoughts. Any last
together. All
words?
right. Last thoughts. Uh, no,
All right.
not
Well,
that I can think of.
my last thought is this was a fun trilogy. I think I hated it more than I wanted to. I don't really hate it. Like it's great. I just feel like it's not as good as like when I first watched it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It definitely is not going to live
I
up to that
think
same
like
magic as it
and I think
was.
the biggest thing for me is like I just like character movies, and this movie focuses more on plot than it does characters. Which is where like the Batman holds up a little bit more for me than it does these movies, simply because like that's character, this is more plot. However, the moments that they do focus on characters, specifically Joker, is great. And that's where I want to leave it.
Hmm.
All right, Brandon, thank you. Guys, this is Don't Involve Me. This is State of Review during the hiatus. Season 2. Can't believe we're on season 2. Please check out TikToks. Please check out the socials. All of that. We out. Thanks, Brandon.